there it is there. 12 sections. That's the sky. And that's the path of the zodiac. And guess what? Rather than Aries being over here, they've got Pisces. Aries is over here. Does anyone know why that would have happened? Yes, because 2,000 years of precessional slippage. We've been in Pisces for 2,000 years. That means on the what simply it means, on the 21st of March every year, look behind the sun, what's the constellation there, and that's the sign we're in for 2,000 years. So this Passover of the sun, the equinoctial crossing on the 21st of March every year, has not been happening in Aries. It's been happening in Pisces for 2,000 years, and we're going into the age of Aquarius. Next you'll see Aquarius over here, and it'll begin in Aquarius. This does not change the science of astrology. I will explain why not later. But I've just pointed that out to you. I wanted you to see that. That begins with Pisces, and the reason for it, because they've made concession for precession. There's the oath, and it's also 12 sections. I wonder why. So you don't notice this when you see these maps. You look at them and you go, oh boy, that's the way they did it. Well, I'm just pointing these things out to you because you're going to see how it all connects in about an hour and a half. Okay, so what we have is a beautiful big circle like this, and we have an equator. I'm doing exactly what I see on those maps, okay? Here, that's the Earth. I'm going to put the Tropic of Cancer up here, right? I'm putting it nice and high. It should be about here. It should be 23.5 degrees north of the equator. You know why, don't you? 23.5 degrees. Tilt of the Earth. You understand the tilt of the Earth? As we go around the Sun, see the tilt of the Earth? The axis is tilted, so it's the Earth is like that, right? And it maintains that tilt as it goes around. So if the tilt's like that, if my head is the Sun and this is the Earth, it will go around like that and maintain that tilt. It'll go right around, and that tilt will always be facing up that way. So if it's tilted that way, it goes around the sun like that and keeps that tilt. That's how the seasons happen. Simple as that. All right, without going. There's spring, Aries, summer, autumn, winter. Remember, it goes anti-clockwise. We go anti-clockwise around the sun. So there's the equal days, and that's the shortest and the longest. Obviously, this is January the 1st, around December time, see? Okay? Now, what's this tropic? Capricorn. Good. It is. Beautiful. So you got 47 degrees. Now that sine wave. Let's follow the sine wave. This is the sine wave. This sine wave that happens from March the 21st to March the 21st is the sine wave. This is the fractal of the same sine wave that goes up and down to the neutrino, up to the galaxies and down to the neutrino, the smallest thing we know that exists, much smaller than the particles of an atom, that does this. All of it does this. Electric, magnetic, positive, negative, male, female, good, evil. That's why they get this thing that the female is evil. It's not evil. It's just the opposite of this. But this one gets the designation of evil because of its association with winter and the night. The feminine energy has that association. It's magnetic. That's all it is. It must be there, just like the male energy must be there. They both are there. In this world, sub-ether, the world of effects. Not here. Sorry?
And evil and light are just opposites?
Well, exactly. Up here, you get to live. The opposite of live is evil. That's the devil. And the good is the God. Okay? That's the story of Jesus' kingdom and Satan's kingdom. Satan rules down here, Saturn, in Capricorn and Aquarius. He's the ruler of both of those. Jesus is the ruler of, the Sun is the ruler of Leo, because Leo is there. Now watch this. This is the amazing story that comes out of this. This is the story of all the myths, every single one of them. So we have lush green photosynthesis for this part. For this part, the summer part, there's spring, there's summer. Good. Oh, they're great. You can eat, you can grow things, because longer days, shorter nights, longer nights, shorter days. This guy is the bad equinox because he introduces you down and sends you down into hell. That's hell, that's heaven. Summer is heaven, winter is hell. How do I know that? Well, because you need to know your Latin. Winter, in Latin, is inverno. Hell, just take away that V and replace it for a sound that is very, very similar. Inferno. Okay, hell is cold. That's hell. That's Tartarus. That's the pit. That's where Osiris rules. That's where Satan rules. Good planets rule up here. The sun and the moon. Cancer. The moon. Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Ruling in the kingdom of heaven. Abraham and Sarah in the promised land. This is the promised land flowing with milk and honey. The Milky Way runs between Taurus and Gemini. That's the milk. In Cancer there's an asterism called the beehive. That's the honey. So when the sun is in these months from March to September, it is in the promised land, in the land of honey. So when they see Aries coming up in the east, they go, thank God, because the Passover is happening in the sign of the Lamb, and on Nisan the 14, on the full moon, it's the marriage of the moon opposite the sun. The full moon in all her glory, Isis, being impregnated by the sun on the Nisan 14, when the Passover. And they celebrate it, and they say, we are going into the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey, and where you can grow and harvest in Virgo. These signs tell you about the agricultural year. They tell you about the gospel in the sky. They tell you what weather you're going to have below, what season it is. Why do you think Scorpio and Sagittarius and Libra are here? Libra judges the sun. Scorpio is the backbiter, November, winter. Sagittarius inflicts further punishment on the sun because the arrow of the centaur is pointing to December, the 21st, the solstice, the shortest day of the year. The last day of Sagittarius is the 21st of December. The fall. Autumn. The fall. That's why it's the fall, because the sun falls in these months. They know these signs in the northern hemisphere. When they see the sun coming up behind Scorpio, it's the backbiter. He backbites the sun. He waits for him to be judged in the scales. Bang! November. You're dead. Middle day, Halloween. The cross-quarter days. Equinox, solstice. Equinox, solstice. Longest day of the year, shortest day of the year. equal days. 12 hours of light, 12 hours of night. Well, equinox means just that. Equi, equal, nox is night. So night and day, basically. And there's only 2 of those days. Funny how the ancients knew about those days. How did they know that that day was the day when the sun splits? Did they have watches that, you know, clocks like, bang, that's it. That's it. It's got to be today. Who was checking this stuff? How did they know? This science has come down to us from the golden age of 12,000 years ago when Egypt was teaching true Christianity. Christ is the Son. Jesus is the Son. Amen is the Son. Satan is the Son. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now you see, remember, this also represents the day, and this represents the night. So we put 6 o'clock over here, 12 o'clock over here, 6 o'clock over here, and 12 o'clock midnight over here. Make sense? This is a 24-hour clock. And we're going to bring it around on itself next. And we're going to show you how the wheel works. Now, as I said to you, when the sun goes down here, everything turns red. So these 6 signs here of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces are the 6 bad months. These are the good months. These correspond to the Jewish menorah. This is the menorah of the Christians. They worship the kingdom of heaven with the Star of David on the top. People say it's the hex. It represents Saturn. It does. David is Saturn. But it's also Thoth, Mercury. Mercury sits here in Gemini. That's why they always put the Star of David. That, in anybody's book, is hermaphrodite. Male facing up and the womb of the woman facing down. That's feminine, that's masculine, that's a hermaphrodite, that's Mercury. That's why they have Star of David up the top there. And that's the Jewish menorah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that correspond with the 7 planets, the Elohim. The Elohim in Genesis chapter 1 say, let us make man in our image. Why do they make man in our image? Remember the patterns I showed you that they make in the heavens? Remember? Well, all those patterns are Fibonacci patterns. Now, my name's Bonacci, so Fibonacci, if you know who that is, that's 800 years ago. Leonardo Bonacci gave us his numbers, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on, right? 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 and 2 is 3. 2 and 3 is 5. 3 and 5, 8. 8 and 5, 13. You follow me? Right? They grow at 1.618. That's what you call phi. You know, you've got pi, which is 3.141. Well, this is phi. This is the other transcendental number. There's 2 transcendental numbers. They never zero out. You got this number goes forever, just like pi goes forever. They're not from this dimension. They're transcendental numbers, right? That's the golden mean. But yes, my belly button. 1.618. Why? Because everything in the solar system is creating those little circles and forms to basically inflict a pattern of 1.618 on this Earth. Therefore, everything has those proportions. There it is. And pinecone, DNA. The DNA, 21 angstroms across the short wave and 34 the long wave. Well, that's just Fibonacci numbers, because 22, 8 and 13 is 21, and the next number's 34. Well, that's what the DNA, I just read the angstroms of the DNA. So the DNA are doing this spiral. This is not a spiral, by the way. It's a helix. It's not two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional. It's going around like this sine wave. It's spiral. It's like a torus, like the energy flowing through our bodies. Got this torus field, okay? Leonardo da Vinci knew about it. The Mona Lisa. The Creator knew about it because our eyes, our face, all the positions of the organs and whatnot on the face and everything have Fibonacci harmonics ratios. There's the Milky Way galaxy. The galaxies are doing it. Spiraling out with a Fibonacci number, with a Fibonacci spiral. It's everywhere. As I said, the neutrinos doing it. There's the apple, the pentagram in the apple. There it is there. That's 1, that's 1.618. It's everywhere in nature. Fibonacci. There's the spiral of the Fibonacci spiral, and there's the cross that, remember that cross I showed you? Our furniture is made by Fibonacci, the best furniture. The Renaissance furniture of Italy, all Fibonacci. All the artists were using Fibonacci proportions. Where did they get it from? Pyramids. Pyramids is all phi. It's all phi. All of it. There it is there. 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, 5, 8, 8. Count all the keys, 13. Petruvian Man. Photographers know where to place their objects with the Fibonacci spiral to get a perfect photo. There is a woman in the ocean flicking her hair back, and they've superimposed the Fibonacci grid over the top of that. And guess what? Perfect Fibonacci. Flick back of the hair, and the spiral fits right over the top of that. Plants are doing it. There's your DNA. Okay. Stock market, yes. You're going to see some interesting stuff about the stock market here, man. Why they crash the stock market always here, when Libra hands over to Scorpio. The 19th of October, 2 stock market crashes happened here, and 1 happened 4 days later on the 25th of October. The 3 stock market crashes of history, the biggest ones. 29, 2007, and 87. Right there. Right? Osama bin Laden dead day. May the 1st. May the 1st is when the Illuminati was founded. It's when Hitler was announced to have been killed. Osama bin Laden now on that particular day. We had the royal wedding. We had the beatification of Pope John Paul. And people don't realise that. Why would you beatify the Pope within, is it 3 years he died? That's impossible. It's got to be centuries. Usually the Catholic Church takes hundreds of years to beatify, which is, I think beatification is the next step to sainthood. Is it? Okay. This guy, they rushed it in. And quickly tell everybody about Osama bin Laden and have a royal wedding. Because we're going to beatify him. There's a lot of stuff going on. Now, I haven't begun with that, because I'm going to do that later. But see this spiral? This is when the naughty stuff happens, this is when the good stuff happens. This is summer, this is winter, this is day, this is night. Alright? 6 in the morning. Now, when you know these 2 wheels, that this represents the day, and this represents the year, okay, when you understand that, you only need one more thing, and you are a complete astrologer. 8 minutes. Because, as I said, that is a fractal of everything. When you superimpose the man here, notice the head of the man in Aries. There's Aries. Taurus is pointing to here. Gemini is pointing to the arms. When you put the man there, and the man in the sky is Adam. Adam Kadmon in Jewish Kabbalah. Adam Kadmon is this man here, Aries, the arms, the chest, the heart, the belly. Virgo is the belly. That's why you got any Virgos here, you probably noticed they have a nice little pot belly. My father's a Virgo and he's got his pot belly. He's always had this belly. And we'd always laugh at him. Well, it turns out, well, he's a Virgo. You're a muscly Virgo. But no, that's it. Arians have got prominent heads, hence my buff head. but they do. Taurians have got thick necks. I've picked Taurians by their neck. In fact, once I couldn't, I didn't guess this Taurian, and he said, I'm the one with the thick neck. And I said, oh, okay, that's Taurus. Now, how did he know to say that? He doesn't know this. He didn't know this, I know that. But he said, we have the thick necks. You see how things are getting around? Expressions? Yes. Have a look at your Sagittarian friends. They've got the males, they've got these big thighs. Have a look at Geminis, their long arms, or the way they move their arms. It's amazing. Their arms are like air. Have a look at the Leos that get around like, and the Cancerians, because they're summer. It's hot. No, this is how it works. Arians are the babies of the zodiac. Why are they the babies? Well, the sun is a baby here. He's a little boy. And he's climbing because he has to climb the mountain to get to his enthronement. And the enthronement is always here on the summer solstice because that's when the sun is the biggest. Just like his bride, the bride, Mary Magdalene. New moon, full moon. That's the glory of the moon, that's the bleeding of the moon. In the menstruation cycle, that's where the bleeding happens. New moon. That's your cycle, ladies. It takes 14 days for the egg to mature, and if it's fertilized at this point, you'll have a son or child. 270 days later. Otherwise, 14 days later, it'll bleed. That's the new moon. You can't see it because it's in between you and the sun, so you can't see the new moon, but you can see that one because that is always opposite the sun, the full moon, always. When the sun is setting in the west, then you'll see the full moon coming up in the east. They have to be. So, the sun's enthronement is here, Ra. Horus, Ra, Set. Well, interesting. The war of Horus and Set. Cain and Abel. Jacob and Esau. All the twins in the Bible. Jesus and Satan. Satan rules Capricorn. Satan kills Jesus because Jesus, this is cardinal fire, this is fixed fire where the sun lives, the sun rules Leo, and this is mutable fire, Sagittarius. So the fire cycle, of which there is none in this quadrant here, is killed by Saturn. He is the killer on the 21st of December, which is Saint Tammuz Day, and Tammuz is Osiris, and Osiris is Saturn, the brother of Jesus, the son, who kills him. See how it works? It's amazing. It's scary to think that they've literalized this story. It's pure poetry of the heavens. So, you see we have March the 21st here, we have June the 21st, Prince William's birthday, December the 21st and September the 21st. Everything starts here. Everything. Remember, it's the head. It's where the fractal begins. It all starts with cardinal fire, because cardinal fire is the first part of the fire. Cardinal is the beginning signs. They are the door openers. Cardo in Latin means hinge. When the sun passes those days, it crosses over those days, or passes over. That's why there are 4 crucifixions in the Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Because they are crossifixions. Crossovers. The sun is crossing over. It's being crucified on the cross of matter. What's that the symbol of? Earth. The symbol of the earth? Oh, okay. Do you think they knew something? It's this science. It all goes back to the science. That's the symbol for the sun. Okay? Target. Just you watch how many symbols of those Illuminati corporations have to do with the sun.
And the
I'll show you, that's going to scare you. It's scary. It really is scary what they're doing subliminally. What I've done here is I've basically made that bigger, that graph that we had in the first one, right? There's the Tropic of Cancer, and there's the Tropic of Capricorn, okay? And there's the equator, really. You can just extend it. You understand what I've done? So there's your summer, and there's your winter. Your good and your evil. Remember, we had hell down here, inverno. Okay? Now, first thing I want to bring to your attention here, I'm going to wrap 7 wheels around here. I'm going to wrap the body of the man. The head is always here. And then the Pisces touch the back of the head, immutable, water, thick cardinal fire. This is the starting line. And I'll show you why. Now, interesting, fire in the head, water in the feet. We are a magnet. We are a magnet. We're magnetic. And with, obviously, the fire must connect to the air, the fire in the head of Aries, to the air above the head, as the philosophers say, and the water in Pisces is always connecting to the earth. That's the magnetic polarization, okay? That's how you've got to see. So I'm going to wrap the body around here, and I'm going to show you how all the stars, Taurus has always got its 3 other constellations. Orion is in here. Orion, the famous Orion, the Lamb of God that fights with the dragon. There's a red star in Scorpion, that's the dragon. Every opposition, that's Herod and John the Baptist, that's the Lamb, and that's the fiery dragon, the 4 fixed points. Check these oppositions. There's a reason they're there. All right? There's a reason why Libra is the opposite of Aries. They both have to do with equinoxes, and you'll see why. There's a reason why Cancer has a unicorn in it, opposite to the Capricorn. The corns that are there, the unicorn, which is also the Cancer, the crab, and the scarab, the beetle, is also here. Just like here we have the eagle and the serpent and the scorpion, here we have 3 animals also in these 2 signs. One of them is the unicorn opposite the Capricorn, because these are the corns, the solstices. Right? Now, Orion is here. What you're going to notice as we go through the body is all those stars correspond with the stars in your body. So it's all the same thing.
Are they deacons?
No, they're not the deacons, but everyone has, for instance, in Gemini, you've got Canis Minor and Canis Major belong to this sector. Here in Aries, I think you've got Perseus is in here. Perseus is one of the stars, but there's the 36 outer constellations, right, along with the constellations of the zodiac. There was 36 of them, so you need to know those ones too. You don't need to know them, but as you learn, you realise Orion is in there. It's important to know that Orion is in, and you'll see why later, okay? But I'm going to wrap the body around here. In a minute, we're going to do the agricultural year, and we're going to see if those signs, we're going to pay attention and see if any of those signs happen to correspond with the planets, with the seasons below. I wonder why the bull is there in April. Let's see if we can work this out. I'm going to wrap 7 of these wheels around this, and you will see the tarot is here. The tarot is the 12 cards. There's 22 cards in the tarot, and the 10 bodies, including the Earth, Uranus, and Neptune. This is what the tarot is based on, guys. Kabbalah is in here. The Hindu system is in here. The Mayan system is in here. Everything is in here, right? The tarot, which comes from the Torah, which means the wheel. This is the Torah. This is everything. It's Aphrodite's belt. It's King Arthur and the Round Table. There's just 12 knights. That'd be Lancelot. Or the guy with the spear. Sagittarius would be Lancelot. This is the Mazzaroth of the Bible. This is Jesus going through the circuit of Galilee, because when you look in your Strong's Concordance and you check Galilee, it tells you it's the circuit of the Mazzaroth, the circuit of the zodiac. So it's telling you. It's there. They can't hide it. And it's getting exposed more and more by the day. Anyway, the tarot, those 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the moon, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, make 22 cards. That's what the tarot is based on. Everything is based on the heroes of our solar system. Everything. And the 12 helpers. Let's have a look at how that happens. Right, what I've got is, I've got the astronomer to Caesar, the astronomer to Napoleon Bonaparte, Volney, 200 years ago. And this is the agricultural year, how they saw it, and they've always seen it like this. Aries, the wool of the lamb is the springtime, the blossom of the trees. Taurus is the bull that tells you to take your bull out and put a plough behind it and plough now and plant now in the fixed earth. Because the sun, Jesus, is going to turn water into wine. This is the wine season. Ask any Greek or Italian. September. Wine season, Virgo's the bread. The bread and the wine, the symbols of Christianity. The bread and the fish, which is the 2,000 years which we have come from. This is the last 2,000 years of history. We are now entering the age of Aquarius. We are right here at the threshold of the age of Aquarius. Before that, here's Rome, ancient Rome. Before that was the age of Aries. Mars rules Aries. Jupiter's been ruling Pisces. Jupiter has been ruling over mutable water, and we've been getting baptized in water for 2,000 years because this is the baptism that we are having. The race has been baptized in water for 2,000 years. Jupiterian, Piscean, mutable water. We are going into spirit next. We're jumping up from water to spirit in Aquarius. Okay? Now keep that in mind later because that's another one of the wheels that I'm going to do. Gemini, the twins. Twin sheep, twin goats. Look around, it's spring. It's reproduction. This is the symbol of reproduction. These symbols symbolize the springtime. The golden age, silver, bronze, iron. Cancer, the backward moving, the sideways moving animal. Right, when the sun reaches June the 21st, that solstice, that golden day, the longest day of the year. When it reaches, it is enthroned in its kingdom. It's Ra. Remember the moon, new moon, and she climbs. And she comes to quarter. The sun, we celebrate the Passover of the Lamb here. The Israelites who have come out of the Red Sea. Because this is red, remember? Everything is red here. And if you remember our little friend here, and you remember that the head of the man is over there in Aries, and you go down like this with the chakra system, you'll find that Scorpio, the red, you see that orange? That's Scorpio here, or thereabouts, probably there. It starts turning orange here and red. There's a reason for it. Up there is as below. Our Father in heavens, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. What does that mean? Well, it means as above, so below. And it is. We are walking, our 12 tribes of Israel, Aries, all the way down to Pisces. And by the way, that's the Jewish tribe, because that's the lion, Leo, of the tribe of Judah. That's Leo. Now, as we are walking through this world, we are the 12 tribes of Israel. And we are walking through the Red Sea, which is our blood. And scientists know that in a laboratory there is no difference between our blood and seawater, chemically. That's a fact. Well, that's the Red Sea and the 12 Israelites. They are in your body, the 12 tribes of Israel, and they are in this room. I'm an Aryan. I'm of one of the tribes. I am cardinal fire. That's how my character is. The Son has given me those attributes because I was born here on the 24th of March, just after the Passover. And so I get cardinal fire. I get a male, this is male, this is female, this is male. I get an electric polarity, which means all you people who have these signs, male signs of fire and air, fire and air, fire and air, all those signs are male. If any of you females there are in those signs, you are electrically polarized. You're not magnetically polarized, which means you'll be less receptive to other people's ideas. Whereas the magnetic people, like your Cancers and your Scorpios, they easily absorb other people's ideas because they're magnetic and their polarization is to receive. So knowing that, how easy it would be if we knew that about our children at kindergarten, we would know, we'll put all the electrics over there and all the magnetics over there and teach them differently. But they don't want to do that, do they? They just want to tell them how to learn how to buy stuff and get a job. Boy, that's a noble concept. And that's all they teach children. Consume. Let's create a consumer society, shall we? And just all we do is just consume things. That's what we've got. It's sick. It's really sick.
Very, very.
We have to turn our backs on it.
You even have to use credit.
Yes. So we go through this and we see that the crab is there because the crab is a sideways walking creature and it must descend. The goat likes to climb mountains. That's why the goat's there. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm going to read this from various sources. Hopefully I have the time. So I'd love to be able to read this from the books where I got all this. Because none of this is my opinion. None of this is any of my ideas. You have to read a lot. But, so hopefully I can read that because you'll love it. You'll love it. Leo, these are the dog days. Sirius comes up behind the sun around July and you have those 2 or 3 weeks called the dog days. This is mid-summer here, August the 1st. Mid-summer, cross-quarter days. Pay attention to those cross-quarter days because they go exactly in the middle of these equinoxes and solstices, exactly in the middle, and they are the midpoints. That's midsummer, mid-fall, midwinter, mid-spring. That's the start of spring, mid-spring.
The fact that we're in the southern hemisphere and it's totally outside making a difference.
Good question. The point is, people, no, it doesn't change this at all because the pulse, remember that sine wave that goes through your body? I showed you the serpent going through Libra, the kidneys, and then at the feet, magnetic feet. That's going through you every hour, every minute, every microsecond, and every year of your life in fractals. It's always happening. Well, it's happening in our solar system, and it starts at March the 21st. For the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Regardless. It's the position when Aries happens here, that's March the 21st, the spring equinox, that's the solstice. It goes anti-clockwise, remember, our Earth. It maintains that tilt and gives us the 4 seasons. These are the cardinal points of the 4 seasons, but in the middle of them is the middle of the season. So that's why you see fixed fire here. Of course you can have fixed fire over here. You can't have fixed fire over there, it's winter. You see how it's based on science? The sun rules Leo. He's the boy of hot. Opposite him is Saturn's kingdom, Aquarius. The boy of cold. Satan. Jesus. He rules the underworld. He is Neptune, Saturn. He is Osiris, the god of the underworld. Horus is the guy of the horizon. Horus is the guy of the horizon. Horus. Ra is up here because that's when the sun radiates the most. The rays of the sun are so powerful in summer. This is when Hercules mounts his throne, when Achilles comes back to get his throne. This is when Jesus enters Jerusalem on the two donkeys, Asinellus Borealis and Asinellus Australis. The two twin donkeys. That's why you read the Gospels and you hear about Jesus riding into Jerusalem on two donkeys. How do you do that? Wait, hang on, wait. Slow down. Because look, as the sun strolls in, this is a procession. This is Jesus, and they've got the palms in their hands, Palm Sunday, and all these, because the sun is coming to be enthroned. But then the sun must also be betrayed. And he does get betrayed by the three betrayers. There's no fire in this quadrant room. Well, that's even worse. This really betrayal of the sun. Why? Because in astrology, every planet has a ruling house, a detriment, a house of detriment. That's the ruling house of the sun. This is the house of its detriment. Down here the sun suffers. It's winter. It's all based on nature. And this is astrology, people. It's based on pure nature. This will help you understand astrology. It also has its fall and exaltation. Well, now that we know about this sine wave, now that we know this sine wave, and we know what the sine wave is, the sine wave is basically, it's everywhere. It's in the yin and yang symbol. It's in the figure 8. It's in the letter S. It's the swastika. It's the cross. It's all the religious symbols. All of them.
But also eternity?
Yes. 8. The number of eternity. Because there's no, where do you start? Where do you start? Right? It comes from this. And when you understand this, and you realise that the sine wave is doing this, you will understand why the planets have all these things. If the sun rules here and its detriment is here, where would the sun's exaltation and fall be? So we've got established its ruling house, and we've established its house of detriment, because it makes sense, doesn't it? Here is midwinter, right? Where would it exalt? Does anyone know from their studying astrology? Just from your studying astrology, which is the sign of the exaltation of the sun? It's going up, you're right. Aries, thank you. This is the exaltation. This is the fall of the sun, Libra. Now, what do we know about Satan, his evil twin brother, who teaches us to listen to the church of listening instead of the church of seeing? Well, a twin brother over here, this is his ruling house, Aquarius. This is the detriment of Leo. This is the exaltation, we're talking about Saturn, sorry. This is the ruling house of Saturn, Satan, Jesus' brother, his twin brother. This is the detriment of Saturn. This is the exaltation of Saturn. This is the fall. You see, it is science that there is an opposition in nature. It's pure science. He's the father of electricity. He is the father and the ruler and the god of magnetism. Volney. Thus the Ethiopian of Thebes named stars of inundation or Aquarius, those stars under which the Nile began to overflow. Stars of the ox or the bull, those under which they began to plough. Well, I just told you that. You can see the season, and you can see the stars are there as a sign. And guess what Genesis chapter 1 verse 12 says? And I have placed the luminaries and the stars and the sun in the sky to serve as signs and for seasons, for signs and for seasons. And then in Job, God says, can you tell forth the Mazzaroth? Do you know how to tell forth the Mazzaroth? Can you tell me? Do you know what it means when the sun is in Taurus? Because if you don't, you're a fool. Well, back then, anyway. I mean, I know we've lost this now. And it's sad. But I mean, we're all hungering to learn this. I'm hungering to learn it every day. But it's our true science. As above, so below. You see the bull, you go to plough. And it's agriculturally, this is set in stone. Biologically, it's set in stone. Annually, when I show you through the Gospels, I'm going to point out about 20 or 30 scriptures here, and I'm going to blow your mind with how they correspond with all these Halloween and, you know, the Passover, Easter, and all of these religious festivals. Blow your mind. That's absolutely stuff that will blow your mind. And people go to church to get, just believe in Jesus, brothers. Yes. Why? Well, why would you believe something when you can know it? I mean, in order to speak English, how much belief do you need in it? None, because you know it. So in order to speak a language, you need to know it. This is a language. And they're not even teaching that. They are the blind leading the blind. And that's why they say, you must be like sheep, brothers. Why would they ask you to be sheep-like? Well, you ask a Christian and it says, because sheep are humble and they follow the shepherd. But the priest knows why. Because he wants to fleece you. And he wants to pull the wool over your eyes. And lead you like a lamb to the slaughter, like you said. That's why. They are the masters, but they're doing their job. They're evil because they serve the magnetic energy of Saturn, the black sun. This is the black sun. You've heard about the black sun, haven't you? It's Saturn. And this is the sun. Jesus, Lucifer, the deceiver.
Why have you got Saturn instead of Uranus ruling the clear?
Uranus also is here, and Pluto and Neptune, but they are in a different octave. This is the first octave of planets, and this is how it works. Ruling house of the sun, ruling house of the moon. And then in descending order you have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and then Saturn at the outer, the cold. That's the hot. He gives the most heat and love and light and life. Notice I said those three L's because he is Elios, and he is the Lord. Believe you me, you should place the E before the L if you want to start understanding the Bible, and you will see that he gives us love, life, and light. That's who it is. The feathered serpent. There it is on the Jehovah's Witness Assembly Hall in New Jersey. The Egyptian sun disk. El, the sun. Elios. They're telling you the name. Look at the Christians. Ooh, living hope, Jesus. And what do they put there? Jesus. That's Jesus. It's a creature. The sun is a creature. And he is our blessed Saviour. Because when we enter into its consciousness, which is heart chakra and above consciousness, we're saved. You don't believe in the fiction anymore. There's no priest that can say, how about coming to my church and I'll teach you about God. They're deceivers. And they won't teach you about the truth. They put it in your face. That is yes. Yes. Our positive Saviour, the Son. Because You must come to the Son to be saved. You cannot get to the Father unless you are saved by the Son, because it's that baptism in the pineal gland of fire, and hence the fire above the head of the Christians at Pentecost, cross-quarter day. This is when Pentecost happens, when in the book of Acts, they get a baptism of fire and they're speaking in tongues. That's the baptism of your pineal gland just gone. It's just exploded and you're in the Christ consciousness and saved. That's what salvation is. Now, back to our little friend Volney. And those under which the animal driven from the desert by thirst appeared on the banks of the Nile, stars of the sheaf, or of the harvest virgin, those of the reaping season. The stars of the lamb, stars of the two kids, those under which these precious animals were brought forth, and thus was resolved the first part of the difficulty. In the same manner he named the stars of the crab, those where the sun, having arrived at the tropic, retreated by a slow retrograde motion like the crab or Cancer. He named the stars of the wild goat or Capricorn, those where the sun, having reached the highest point in the annuary tract, rests at the summit of the hoary gnomon and imitates the goat, who delights to climb the summit of the rocks. The goat has the job to climb up. He named the stars of the balance or Libra, those where the days and nights, being equal, seemed in equilibrium like that instrument. The stars of the Scorpion, those where the certain periodical winds bring vapours burning like the venom of the scorpion. Now, I've got a few other sources, but I've done them in other presentations, and I don't want to repeat information. I like to bring new information out all the time, but I can go on and I can read many of these stories where Aries is the spring, the blossom, plough, generation, sliding down of the sun, midsummer, there is the sun, Virgo, holding the sheath of grain in her hands, and the virgins go out to pick the harvest, the bread season. Libra, why is there always an association with the winepress and vengeance? In the Bible it says, and I shall press them in the winepress of my anger. Well, it's the sun in his burning anger, and he turns those grapes into wine, and they are pressed every year. And that's why in one of the Gospels, after the crucifixion, the last thing Jesus says, it is finished. Here he says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Eli, Eli, why have you forsaken me? Because it's the coldest, shortest day of the year. Here he says, God, why do you struggle against me? And then God, every gospel says something different. In fact, Porphyry busted the Christians through 1700 years ago. He busted them. They burned all of Porphyry's books because he was teaching that you have to be vegetarian to get to God. He was, and of course, that's going to disturb a lot of these meat industries that are run by the corporations, and telling you that you've got to get iron and protein from your meat, which your body can't do. Simply can't do it. Simple as that, of course. Yeah, and these guys, Porphyry, Plutarch, Pythagoras, Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Plato, who else was a vegetarian? And who else do they poo-poo and tell you, oh, they're from the devil if you go there? It's like I was saying before, you don't need to believe in English to communicate in English. You need to know it. And that's the reason why with astrology, people that poo-poo it, it's a language. If you don't know it, you don't have to believe in it. So hence, why would they? The question is futile. Do you believe in astrology? This guy busted them. He says, and you ought to read The Christians as the Romans Saw Them. Great book. Celsus, 100 years before Porphyry, they burned his books. These are the fragmentary remains. We get these remains from this one, from Origen, the church father, and these fragmentary remains from other scraps on porphyry. Thank God we've got these. Thank God we've got Julian's book, the emperor. Remember I told you about him 40 years after Constantine? Against the Galileans. He calls them, he says, I am now going to expose their fiction to you. That's how he opens his words. Opening words. Julian, poor man, what he tried to do when he saw that Christian onslaught. The time has come, this is the opening words, for me to say for the benefit of all how I discovered beyond any doubt that the stories of the Galileans are the inventions of deceivers and tricksters. For these men seduce people into thinking that their gruesome story is the truth by appealing to the part of the soul that loves what is simple and childish. It's the stupid mind of the lower. The Octavius of Marcus Minucius, Felix, Celsus, Julian against the Galileans. I beg you to read these. These guys were busted back then. And I'm busting them now. But he said, your Gospels, why does the Son say something different every Gospel? Why does he say it is finished here? Well, because it's the wine season. Just previous to him saying that, they gave him vinegar. So the Son was given vinegar at this time, because when you squeeze those grapes and squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them, eventually you're going to sip that wine and it's vinegar. And in Egypt, when that moment came here on Judgment Day, hello, the Jews call this Judgment Day, judgment, the wine, he would taste that, ooh, and he would stand at the temple and he would raise his glass and say, it is finished. It's finished. The wine's finished. Let's start again. Thank you, Son, for the bread and the wine. Jesus, he feeds the masses and they celebrate the bread and the wine. That's what it means. It is finished. Why have you forsaken me? Why do you struggle against me? Anyway, it's in here. I can read that to you later. I'm not going to look for that because I want to sort of plough through this before we have to wind it up there. Now, so we see here that the story goes like this. The hero always begins his path here on the 25th of December. Do you know why the 25th of December?
The sun moves forward spring.
Yes. When the sun reaches this point, for 4 days, there's a period where the sun does not move on the horizon. The sun is doing this. On the horizon, there's 47 degrees on the horizon. So it's going summer, autumn, winter, spring. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. So you see you've got summer over here and winter over here. These points are the solstices. Now, when the sun reaches there, and you can watch this on the horizon, you can see the sun's cruising along here. The sun is walking on water. Because when you see the sun come up and setting, it's setting, you know, it sets over here at summer and then climbs back in winter 6 months later. It's beautiful. And you can see it and it stops for 3 days. That's from the 21st to the 25th. That's why the 25th of December is the birthday of the Jesus, the yes. Jesus, the sun. It's the sun. It's the day of the unconquered sun. Because even though Satan kills him and Sagittarius is sparing him, there's Sagittarius's arrow, and he is killed and pierced on the heel, he is still the unconquered sun. You cannot conquer him. And there is the hero dying with there's Hercules. He has the spear, the dagger in his Achilles heel. There he is there. See the arrow? The hero, the sun, always dies in the heel. Hell, inferno. That's the heel. Hell and the heel. And all the L words. Israel, elder in the congregation. Chapel, cathedral, evangel. The elite, that's the elder. It's all elitist. It's all male patriarchy and hierarchy. Ruling people by seducing them into powers, positions of authority. Authority is a no-no word in this universe.
Almost, well, isn't it?
Sorry?
The 8 can also do the 6. The symbol of the number 6.
Number 5.
Oh, it's number 5.
Yes, I'll show you that later.
Oh, okay.
It's the 5th letter, it's the E, and it's the 5th element. Right? It's the ethereal or quintessential. See, what does quintessential mean? The 5th essence. Well, that's it. Ethereal. Ether, ethereal is quintessential. It's the 5th ether. It's the one that all the philosophers are looking for. It's the manna. It's the sweet honey from the gods. It's the nectar. Ether. When you get baptized with this, you're rocking and rolling. You really, really are. That's what this guy calls the Saviour has come to visit. Listen to the Saviour. And he talks at length about meat and how bad it is for humans. It's the molecule. You're eating the animal. Your brothers, Plutarch, said, how did we come into a world that eats its brothers that are incarnating like we and will be of our race one day, humans, and we turn around and we slit their throats. And they called it the tyranny of the senses because there's so much pleasure in eating flesh.
And we're gods to them.
Sorry?
And we're gods to them.
Well, and we are their gods. It's like the angels, which we're going to be next, are our gods.
So would that ether also be like the capstone to the pyramid?
Yes, it is. Yes. Now, so he always, even though he's defeated by Saturn, the god of hearing, and why would you hear? Why would he be the god of hearing? Remember we established that Saturn is hearing, the rings of Saturn? Well, have a look where he is, in the dark. Because remember, we've got 6 o'clock over here, 12 o'clock over here, 6 and 12. This is a 24-hour clock. Sunrise, sunset, midday, midnight, equal, equinoxes, equinox, solstice, solstice, longest and shortest day. From the northern hemisphere, of course. It's not southern. All this science is from the northern hemisphere. So please transport yourselves there, because that's where 90% of civilization has been anyway, really, when you think of it. So it's focused on there, but it's not focused on that. It's not northern hemisphere centered. It has to do with this day. This is the beginning of everything. How do I know? All right. Well, we've put the head there. The head is the head. It's funny, isn't it? We have these expressions like hot-headed and cold feet. Oh, he's got cold feet. Oh, he's hot-headed. Well, feet are cold. This is cold. That's the coldest part of the day. Just before sunrise is the coldest part of the day. Cold feet. Hot head. Well, the body starts there. This used to be called primus. Primus, secundus, tertius, quartus, quintus, sextus, sept. September's the 7th month. It's not the 9th month. Because it all starts here. This is the start of the Jewish year. Right ascension. Does anyone know what right ascension is? Please, astronomers. RA is the celestial equivalent of longitude. See these lines? Where do we get our longitude from? Where does it start? We know that latitude starts from the equator, so that's 15 degrees north of the equator, that's 30 degrees north of the equator, 35, right? It's easy to tell because you've got an equator. It's right there, splitting. But which line splits north-south? Greenwich. That is Greenwich in the sky at 0 degrees Aries. It used to be the pyramid. It used to be Paris. It's only recent that it's gone to Greenwich, but it doesn't matter. As long as we agree to where it is and we've established it, it's there. Right ascension is here. Interesting. So when you say, oh, have a look with your telescope, 30 degrees right ascension. You're looking there. All right? They don't use degrees, they use hours and minutes anyway, but it doesn't matter. So you've got right ascension takes care of the longitude, and declination takes care of the latitude. And it starts there. Over here begins the month April. Does anyone know what Apri means in Latin? Any Italians? No? Aprire. Aprire. You open the door. It means open. Why would that mean open? Because here is where the opening is to the kingdom of Ra, Raymond, the radiator, the regal one. That's how you say king in Italian. That's how you say king in Egyptian. Roma. Ra and Om. Om. Om is the sun. Paris. For Isis. What do you see in the heart of Paris on the little island, the cathedral to Notre Dame, to Our Lady? London. El, On, Don. That's 3 names for the sun. Just like Israel, Isis, Ra, and Elohim. Abraham, Sarah, who come from Brahma and Saraswati. I mean, aren't people thinking, hang on a minute, we've got Brahma and Sarah Swati, and you just go Abraham and Sarah. It's all there. It's all the one religion that was handed down to us in a very, very difficult and very highly veiled system, so that these pearls shall not be thrown to swine, because that's what they were doing. It's not to keep people stupid, but it was originally done to keep people honest. If you're a fool and you want to come into the mystery school and learn all these wonderful secrets and abuse the power, because you can get a lot of power from this. When you know which is your ruling sign, I know that mine is the sun, because my ascendant is Leo.
But if your ascendant rules the chart.
You see? How many people who know astrology don't know that? We should know that. Yes, it's the ascendant. That's why it's so important to know when you were born, the minute and the second. And they've stopped us doing that in the hospitals. It's just, get that baby out, slap him, inject him with some immunisations, and quickly, we need a birth certificate signed. We need to inform quickly, get him in the system, come on, hurry up. And they get a spot fee of $2,000 for doing that. Did you know that? Yes. Because they want you in the system straight away. They don't want you to know this information. You've got to know the time you were born, the time of your birth.
My mother can't remember.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem.
Look, there's only about a 2-hour window. You have to work within a 2-hour window because these signs, they go through, the sun goes through that. Remember, this is 6 o'clock. So if you're born, let's say like me, 24th of March, and you're born, let's say at 7 o'clock in the morning, you'll be born here. Because Aries rules every day from here to here, 6 to 8. So you've got a 2-hour window to work out where your ascendant is, so you know your ruling sign. And you're supposed to be devoted to that God. These are the gods that you're supposed to be devoted to, because once you devote yourself to these gods who are yours, mine is the sun, and my numerology is 1, so it's the sun. Has to be. When you know and you devote yourself to these gods and this science, the holy science, and you become like the true Christians, the Helio-Gnostics, the knowers of the sun, then you will say goodbye to them one day, because you will be of a higher order than these. Because that's where we came from. We come from a way higher order than any of these pretenders. This is Jehovah, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, of the Jews. Don't try and tell Christians that, because they don't want to know it, because they're not interested in the truth, they're interested in their fiction. Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is fire, air, earth and water. That's why they call him the Creator. You have created all things, because it is the created. This is the effect of the cause. This is the created Creator, the demiurge. And they are planetary bodies. That's all they are, just atoms. Because we are living in the great God, and they are the bones of the God. Those stars we see are the atoms of the God. And we are in the middle kingdom. The man is here. The mineral, the plant, the animal, the man is in the middle kingdom. And that star that I told you before, Regulus in the heart, the heart chakra, that is your Christ. That's why you always see Christ with his heart exposed. What's he doing with his heart on his chest? It's telling you that that's where the Christ is, in the heart. And we are the seed of stars. I'm looking at a seed of a star. That's a star. That's a star. You are a star. You are a star. You are a star. And I mean a star. You will be like Michael, our archangel. That's Michael. That's Gabriel. That's Gabriel. That's Raphael. That's Samael. Ariel. And, well, that's Michael. Anyway. And that's what we are. And that's why we call our children youngsters. And we give them little stars when they... A gold star. Be as good as gold. Gold? Because it's the sun. That's why we have gold coins, silver coins and bronze coins. Gold, silver, bronze, hermaphrodite, tin and copper. I usually have my little Incan eagle here. Sorry, and it's made of bronze. And I have that there to do the coming in the middle.
So that's also the Holy Trinity as well?
Yes, the Father, the Ether, in Kabbalah, Kether. Kether is up here, right? So that's the Father. And then you point to the heart, the Sun, that's the fire. And then you do the shoulders, that's Gemini. The air,